welcome back. I am starting off with the body, and I'm very excited to continue in the body for us. I just quickly want to remind you that I'm a quantum life and quantum soul consultant. I'm not a medically trained professional. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a psychiatrist. I'm not a psychologist. Should you display any symptoms that are worrying to you, your first priority is to contact a medically trained professional to assist you. Okay, let's get started with the body. So the body, if we think of it, and if we look at this picture, the body is made up of several systems. Okay, so you have the respiratory system, you have the cardiovascular system, you have the nervous system, you have the lymphatic system, the digestive system, the urinary system, the skeletal system. You have the endocrine system. You have so many systems, and we need to understand that your body's way of telling you that something is there, something is wrong, something's not as it should be, is to create symptoms. And usually the symptoms you will find in these body systems. Okay, so it will create disease, weakness, dependency, problems in patterns, and so on. Okay, so the first example I actually want to talk about was a baby. I've seen a couple of babies, and what's so interesting with regards to the babies is that babies only have actually nature at that stage. They haven't really themselves been exposed to an environment. Now, obviously, I'm speaking about babies that are being raised in loving homes, mothers who have 4 months maternity leave, who's there in those first 4 months, who listens to whatever they need and care about them. And so you see that the nurturing side of things are quite well. And so then you need to ask yourself, why does a baby at that young age get sick? You know, obviously pathogens come from the outside, and we are aware of that. So having a runny nose or whatever is normal. But the specific 2 clients I want to talk about was a client that I saw that was about 3-4 months old that had jaundice. Now, I didn't know what jaundice is, and I also didn't ask the parent what was wrong. The parent just contacted me and said, listen, the baby is sick. Can you please just test for us and see what is going on? So I said, okay, cool. So the body of this baby, as I'm testing, took me immediately to the liver. And as I got to the liver, I got a bunch of trapped emotions, which were prenatal emotions. So actually, while the baby was in mommy's tummy, mommy had some stress, and the baby, because mom and baby is sharing a body, the baby absorbed all of those emotions, and it went and it sat in the liver. Now, for me, I think to myself, oh my word, this baby is sick. It must be like a lung or a nose type of thing. So I get the liver and I immediately go, oh my goodness, you know, but I keep doing what I'm doing. When I actually contact the parent says to me that the baby has jaundice. And I'm like, I don't know what jaundice is, because in Afrikaans, I'm from South Africa. So in Afrikaans, we call it geelsig, which it does not sound like jaundice at all. So I was so confused. I was like, oh, I don't know what that is. And then she explained to me, I'm like, oh, so getting the liver actually made sense. But here you see, for example, that while in the womb, some things were passed on to the baby. And this is also an example of things that can happen to the body, is that you can start inheriting things onto, or get a part of your environment is mom's body. Okay, and whatever mom experience will be your environment for 9 months, and whatever happens in those 9 months might have an effect on your body. And if we didn't, let's say, for example, this mom never contacted me, we never found all of those trapped emotions and the underlying causes that assisted in the jaundice, right? Then what would have happened is this baby would have grown up to be a grown-up, and they never dealt with these things, and it would have been passed on to the next generation. Another example is a baby that I saw with kidney and bladder issues, where the bladder was severely inflamed and enlarged to the extent where they actually wanted to where they wanted to do an operation, and the mom contacted me, and along with medical help, what you need to understand is the baby with jaundice went to the doctor, got the necessary medication. The mom didn't go like, my baby is sick, you must fix the baby. That's not what happened. So please know that both cases were done in conjunction with medical professionals, right? And I will never advise anyone to stop any medical treatment or to not to go for any medical treatment. So the baby had a severely enlarged bladder, and the urine was actually pushing back up into the kidneys, causing infections and so on. And so whilst the baby was in the hospital and things, we also did sessions and found some things. And it actually, for the kidney, the baby with the kidney problems, we found that there were multiple things. There were inherited things. There were things in the womb that was passed down, and as well as things from dad that was passed down. And you know, and in the end, both of these babies are fine. The baby with the kidney problems, the doctors were astounded, in the end didn't have to go for an operation, and it is an absolute miracle. And I believe it's because of the effort that the parents put in to, on every level that they possibly could, to help this baby. They did, you know, and also love, a loving home. Okay, the next example is anxiety. How does it work and how do I fix it? In today's life, we find so many people that have anxiety. Now, anxiety is an emotion which actually will fall under the soul, but it affects our body so much. So I'm going to do the shortened version of anxiety. So you have a gland at the back of your head, in the middle at the back. It's called the amygdala or the amygdala, or you know, and depends on where you come from. And so what happens is this guy shouts to the pituitary gland, hey, we are in trouble. The pituitary gland tells the hypothalamus, hey, tell the adrenal glands we are in trouble. And the hypothalamus tells the adrenal glands, listen, we are in trouble. The adrenal glands say yes, yes, yes. Adrenaline, cortisol, noradrenaline is secreted into the body. And then what happens is it bypasses the digestive system. If you are at gunpoint, your body doesn't go, oh, I hope I can just digest the food that I ate today before they shoot me, you know. So it's like, I don't care about that food. I'm putting all of our energy into muscles and so on, you know. And so if you have lived through a time of shock, trauma, any sort, you might have this anxiety response in a heightened way that is not natural to the body, and it needs to be reversed. The anxiety needs to be processed, because if it is not processed, you will pass it on as an epigenetic marker. And so what will happen is every generation, the fear and the anxiety gets worse. It gets easier to fall into those patterns of fear and anxiety. So how do you fix it? Okay, we first need to find the underlying causes of the anxiety. We need to release it. You, in your psyche, your conscious mind, need to start. There are so many tools, and we will be doing podcasts on anxiety, so I'm not going to go into everything, but there are tools that you can use to help you. There are tools that people around you can use to help you, but this is fixable. For the purpose of this, you need to remove the epigenetic marker. You need to identify the pattern and say, this is a pattern that I've inherited. My mom's mom struggled with anxiety. My mom is struggling with anxiety. Now I am struggling with anxiety. This is a negative pattern. You need to break it. Okay, the next example is an example of a heart wall. So if you don't know what a heart wall is, there's an explanation, and you know, if you want some more information on it, you can message me and I'll try and give an explanation. But a heart wall is, in essence, your heart is the only organ in your body that feels all of your pain. That's why we call it my heart is wounded, or I'm heart sore, you know, or I have heartache, you know. And so what happens is that you have this emotional part of you, that where your heart physically feels all of your emotions, but you also have a physical heart. And so in order to protect your heart, it builds up a wall of trapped emotions around it. And so we found with people that you can inherit an entire heart wall from your parents. So it's not you get born with your heart already being defensive and like, don't come near, don't hurt me, don't say that, don't do that. And so you're already defensive because you inherited an entire heart wall. And you know, and this is easy. We just find the heart wall and we release all of the emotions that making up the inherited heart wall. Okay, and then we are looking at the soul. So the soul, we said, is our mind, our will, and our emotions. So when we look at our soul, the example I want to use is subconscious communications. It's whatever our subconscious mind is communicating to others about us. Okay, and so sometimes we inherit, if one of our parents grew up in a house where they struggled with money and they had a subconscious communication about, I don't have money, for example, and you inherit that subconscious communication, I don't have money, you might struggle with money problems your entire life. Another example is what is being said to you in your house. I actually have a client where, as she was growing up, her mother always told her, ons het nie geld vir dit nie. We don't have money for this. And so we were actually testing on, she had some skin issues, and we were testing, and I found the subconscious communication of, I don't have money. And then I said to her, do you also say this verbally? And then she said, yes, I do say this verbally. So we tested her children, and all of her children also got this subconscious communication. So it became a pattern. Okay, inner vows. I saw a client, I have a few clients that I'm seeing, and we are only dealing with inner vows because inner vows will block you. What you might think in the moment when you say, I will never do this again, or I never want that. We often say that as teenagers, and then we actually don't know what we really want until we're grown up. And then we've already said something, you know. So I have a few clients with inner vows specifically working on relationships where they've said things like, I will never get married. I will never allow someone to control me. And in that moment where you say, I will never allow someone to control me, like my dad is controlling my mom, or like my mom is controlling my dad, or like my friend's boyfriend is controlling her. In that moment, you might think, well, that sounds good. But what happens is you then become stubborn, and no one can help you, even if it is for your benefit. And these patterns, these subconscious communications and inner vows, will be passed down to the next generation. Mind strongholds. Mind strongholds are things that you struggle with, that you might have victory over, and sometimes you just revisit the situation, or you sometimes just struggle with it again. But mind strongholds are things that are strong in the mind. It's strong. It's a strong man. You are struggling. You are trying with everything inside of you not to do this thing, and it still happens. And good examples of this is people with aggressive issues, aggression, anger, is a horrible inherited pattern. We, the other day, found someone with inherited anger, and I know how ridiculous this sounds, please, I know, but it's what it said. 43 generations of inherited anger. And I happen to know the person quite well, and it like all just clicked in for me, because the children struggle a bit with anger. They've mastered it better, but anger comes from our feelings being hurt and wounded, and us not being able to fix the hurt and the pain. We become angry. So the root of the anger is hurt and pain, you know. And then also addiction. Addiction tries to fill a hole inside of you, and so we see these patterns. Another example is the addictive behavior with the nicotine. I'm not going to go over that again. Mental pictures. For example, we have a picture of what we do not want to become. So we think we'll have this picture to try and avoid becoming that. And it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, and it's passed down from generation to generation. An emotional shock passed down from generation to generation. Trapped emotions passed down from generation to generation. Physical traumas. For example, a good example of a physical trauma is someone maybe falling from a great height. The generations after that might be scared of heights. Okay, and another thing that we do not focus enough on is the need of positive emotion. You know, I know so many people that I think to myself, this family is just so negative, or this family is just the most amazing people because they're so positive and they're so grateful. And so we see that sometimes there might also be an inheritance of a need to be more positive, a need to be more grateful, a need to be more humble, a need to be more kind, a need to have joy. So that's also something that you can, as an epigenetic marker, pass down. Okay, so next time will be our last session, and that will be our conclusion. Thank you so much for joining me. And as always, be blessed, and I see you next time. Thank you so much for joining me today in this podcast. I hope it enriched your life. Until next time, blessings.